Alrighty, hello everyone, welcome to the OkKhaos YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be taking the political compass test. If no one knows what that is, it's a test that tells you where you are on the political compass. You got the right and the left, and then you got authoritarian and libertarian. I expect to be right authoritarian, leaning not too far from centrism, because I agree with things from both the left and the right, but I still expect to be a little bit right authoritarian. So yeah, we're going to take the test, we're going to go over most of the questions, and I'm going to give my input. And you guys can get to know a little bit more about me and my political stances. I love politics so much. It's probably my favorite subject to talk about. But yeah, let's take the test. So first up, before taking the test, please know that this isn't a survey. These aren't questions, they're propositions. To question the logic of individual ones that irritate you is to miss the point. Okay. Sounds like a leftist leaning test. Some are extreme, some propositions are extreme, some are moderate, and that's how we can show you whether you lean towards extremism or moderation on the compass. Okay, extremism is dangerous. I don't expect to be extremism or to be an extremist at the end. Your responses should not be overthought. Some are intentionally vague. The purpose is to trigger reactions in the mind, measure feelings and prejudices, rather than detailed opinions on policy. All right, sounds interesting enough. Okay, just a few propositions to start with, concerning no less how you see the country and the world. Okay, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Okay, stupid question right off the bat. I guess it should serve humanity. I'm only going to agree with that. I'm not going to strongly agree. But yeah, it should serve humanity. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. Okay, that's a nationalistic view. That's not patriotism, that's nationalist. And Hitler was a nationalist. So I think they're asking these questions, I believe. I can already tell right away. I think they're going to ask a bunch of questions that are going to be very Hitlerish or have some relation to Hitler in order to put them closer. I saw there was a little graph, and Hitler was very right, or he was not very right. But he was very authoritarian. So I think they're just trying to move you closer and closer, depending on where you land. So I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I disagree. Because there's a lot of stupid stuff that your country could do. There's a lot of good things your country could do. But with the stupid stuff, like I don't want them doing certain things. Okay, no one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Disagree. It's not foolish to be proud of it. You can be proud of your country. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. What race? They should specify the race. I guess right now they're trying to define you and separate you from the lefts and the rights, or like separate you into one of those categories. I guess they're suggesting that the people that are taking this, the majority of them are white. I believe every race has different qualities, very superior qualities. As a white race, I think we've had many advancements, architectural and technological and scientific advancements. So I'm going to agree that our race does have many superior qualities compared to other races. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm going to disagree with that. Two circumstances. The first one, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Say my enemy, because I'm right-leaning. Say my enemy is a radical leftist. Their enemy is a radical right-wing supporter. I wouldn't want to be friends with a radical conservative, because I think extremism is very dangerous. Then again, if you're not talking about a certain person, if you're talking about an entire country and an entire government, say going to war, if you're going war on your enemy, then you want as many allies as you can. So the enemy of your enemy could also be your ally if you're going into war. So I disagree with that proposition right there. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Agree. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. There was always a fusion of information and entertainment, but now it's just more prominent. I agree. Okay, people are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. That one's a hard one. I feel like people are divided more by class, but I think more and more we're going to be divided by nationality, because everything nowadays is made into a race war. You basically have the people that are controlling the media really using us, like blacks, whites, Asians, to all. Actually, the Asians don't care. Blacks, the whites, Latinos all fight it out. We're having race wars all the time. They basically take the Jews, who have the highest representation of billionaires in the US, telling the black people that the white people have the unfair advantage. So now we're all fighting it out. So now we're all fighting and arguing with each other while they can go do whatever they want. So I think that the farther we go along into the future, the more and more we're going to be divided by our nationality. All right, controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I'll agree with that. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I agree. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. What are the abilities? I'll agree with that. The freer the market, the freer the people. I'll agree with that. However, that is a Marxist, almost communist statement. But I do agree. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. I strongly disagree. It's great that we have the option to go for Nestle, Dasani, Fiji water. You can have whatever you want. I think that's a great representation of our society, that you can walk to the store, have whatever you want, you have free choice. Yeah. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. If it's not a commodity to be bought and sold, what should it be? So I strongly disagree with that. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. I strongly agree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. I agree. The only social responsibility of a company is, or should be, to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Disagree. That is not the responsibility. The rich are too highly taxed. I'm agreeing with this one. So they are too highly taxed. However, they don't even pay as much as we do because they find a way to squirm out of it because they have the money. They find a way to not pay their taxes. But I still think they're too highly taxed. I'm not saying do the rich pay too much for their tax? Strongly disagree. They pay nothing for their tax. But are they too highly taxed? I agree with that. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Strongly agree. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Strongly agree. That's a big problem we're having nowadays. Businesses, companies, social medias are misleading the public. And I'm sick of that. Government should definitely penalize them. Then again, it's always in benefit of what the government wants. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of competitor multinationals to create monopolies. I agree. Abortion when the woman's life is threatened should not always be illegal. Abortion is a very deep, very hard topic. It should always be illegal. I am a pro-life supporter. I'm not going to talk about abortion in this video. I might leave that for another video if anyone has any questions about it. And I might make another video on it. But I'm going to strongly agree with that. It should always be legal. Okay, all authority should be questioned. Well, okay. All authority should be questioned. Okay, I'm going to disagree with that. Who's questioning? Let's say you have a cop catching someone speeding, right? Should the person speeding question the cop? Yeah, they should be allowed to. But should the cops' superiors question them? No, the cops are doing their job. The cops are the authority, and their superiors don't need to question the authority of the cop because the cop's just doing his job. The person that the cop caught speeding should be allowed to question, like, oh, what happened, sir? Was I speeding? That's okay. All authority should be questioned. Disagree, because I think they're asking from the perspective of the authority superiors. It should not be always questioned. An eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Strongly agree. That's a very common belief, and I very much so believe in that. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I disagree. I'd rather our money going to theaters and museums than welfare and immigration. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Strongly disagree. Schools should make classroom attendance compulsory, and people who skip school should be put in detention, which they're not anymore. They should be punished, because that's bad. Don't do that. Go to school. School is good. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. What kind of people? What do you mean by kind? Do you mean race? No. We should be mixing, race mixing. Then again, if they don't mean race, and they mean... It's difficult. I'm going to agree that some people should keep to their own kind, depending on who they are. I think it's talking about race, but I'm still going to say this anyway. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly agree. I was spanked a few times when I was a child. My brother was spanked a few times when he was a child, because it's totally fine. It's not good, but it happens. Sometimes when your child is out of control, you don't say, "Oh, are you okay?" No. You give them a little spank and you say, "No, you're being an asshole." Don't say that to your child, but it's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Strongly agree. It's natural. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. This is hard. If you're going to make marijuana illegal, you might as well just make alcohol illegal. And do you really want alcohol illegal? People don't want that. So I guess for personal use, it shouldn't be a criminal offense. So I feel like I should disagree. But I want to agree because I am so anti-drugs. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Disagree with that completely. It should be to equip the future generation. The point of school isn't for learning stupid facts that you're never going to need. It's for knowing how to learn things. The point of social studies is not necessarily, it's not it is to some degree, but it's not necessarily to teach you when World War I happened or when this person was killed. It's more, how do you find that information? So that's what I think the prime function of schooling should be. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. That's very Hitlerish. He wanted a strong country without degenerates. People with inheritable disabilities technically are degenerative to people without disabilities, but they're human. They're human too. Everyone's human, right? And basically saying, no, you can't reproduce is like spaying and neutering people, which is disgusting. So, yes, people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. I disagree. They should be allowed to reproduce. However, they should now have the responsibility of looking after it on their own. They have to look after their child on their own. They have to pay for their child on their own. They shouldn't expect help from society. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Disagree. It's not the most important thing for children to learn. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. A stupid question. I disagree. There are savage and civilized people. Those who are able to work and refuse opportunities should not expect society's support. Strongly agree, probably more than anything else on this. I am anti-welfare. So much. My mother came to Canada with her parents from Europe, and instead of living off welfare, they had nothing at all. Instead of living off welfare, they worked for their money, they worked for their fortune, not fortune I guess, but they worked for their wealth, and here I am today in a beautiful, large house because of that. Not one penny was taken from the government. So I am anti-welfare 100%. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I agree. But I wouldn't say just completely push that to the back of your mind, so it's just eating away at you and killing you slowly. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Disagree. My mother, first-generation immigrant. And she's completely integrated into this country. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for us. I disagree with that. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Disagree. It should receive some public funding. Next page. Okay, wider society. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Agree. Significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. Strongly disagree. One-party states are absolute shit. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Disagree. We should all be worried if there's surveillance going on. Death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly agree. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I agree. I do believe, if you've ever read the book Lord of the Flies, very good book about society. And without a government, people above to be obeyed and people below to obey, people below to be commanded, there's chaos in the world without that. So yeah, we need that. It's very important. I almost strongly agree with that. Yeah, I'm going to strongly agree with that, yeah. Then again, this turns into tyrannical dictatorship, which has its pros, has its cons. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything at all shouldn't be considered art at all. Agree. That's, again, a Hitlerist statement, because that's something that's pulled right out of Hitler that he said. He didn't believe abstract art was art. If you give me, like, the Mona Lisa, right, and you give me a piece of paper with a dot on it, this is a piece of shit. That's not art. Oh, the dot is conveying emotion. It's fucking stupid. It's not art. It's a dot. Something a toddler can make. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Agree. Who's the criminal? Is the criminal a child? Not a child. A teenager who shoplifted something? You can rehabilitate him or her. A child rapist, a child molester? Punishment. Very severe. Anyone who rapes children, molests children, I guess the same thing, tortures children, tortures animals, should be killed. F them. It's a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Strongly agree. Business person and manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Disagree. No, I'm going to agree. Okay. This one, I'm like right in the middle, but I'm going to agree solely because I think like I'm 1% leaning. Yeah, I'm like 51% business and manufacturing, 49% writer and the artist, or maybe even less than that, like 50.5 and 49.5. Okay, mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Homemaking doesn't necessarily mean staying home making sandwiches. If you have a child, right? As I'm a traditionalist, okay? I'm a traditionalist. This should say parents may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Because I guess the man could do this too, because some women are useless at looking after their children. But if you look at the broad spectrum, women are better than men at parenting and looking after their children. And mothers may have careers, yeah, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Obviously, if they have a child, they should be responsible for making the environment as best as possible for the child, so the child can grow up in the best as possible environment, right? So yeah, strongly agree. That is their first duty. And as a traditionalist, traditionally women looked after the children and looked after the house while the men went to work. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Agree. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Disagree. I don't think you should always make peace. Sometimes you need more than making peace. Astrology accurately explains many things. Disagree. I agree that astrology accurately explains many things, but we're talking about religion here, so I disagree with that. You cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly disagree. I'm not religious. I'm very moral. Then again, what is religion? Are they talking about worshiping a god or just your beliefs? Is that considered a religion? Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I agree. Some people are naturally unlucky. Strongly agree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. I agree. Then again, what are the religious values? Should they instill worshiping God? And what kind of religion? Some religions are horrible and they condone violence and they condone terrorism. Some are much nicer, like Buddhism. I think schools should instill Buddhist values, for sure. About not wanting much in life. You'll be much happier. Anyway, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, finally, look at sex. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly agree. It is very immoral. I'm not saying it's bad. You can do it if you want to. I'm probably gonna do it one day. I'm still a virgin, but because being a virgin is good. 16 years old, you should not have f***ed anyone yet. It is usually immoral. It's completely immoral. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Agreed. They should not be excluded. However, if you have a opposite sex or a normal couple and a same-sex couple, I'd prefer children to go to the regular couple. But if the choice is between a same-sex couple and an orphanage or foster home, I'd rather than have the same-sex couple. So yeah, I agree with that. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. I disagree with that. I think pornography is terrible. It's horrible, disgusting, it's ungodly, and it shouldn't be legal. It should be completely illegal. Then again, if we make it illegal, people are still going to watch it. So I'll agree. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Disagree. I don't know much about homosexuality, so I'm not going to strongly disagree, but I feel like homosexuality is a very natural thing. And these days, openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly agree on that one. It has gone way too far. You can walk down the street or be in a fucking library or whatever. You walk past a book literally sitting there that any kid could read about how many ways you can perform oral sex. It's stupid. Now let's see where I stand. Okay, about the political compass. Alright, you got authoritarian right, authoritarian left, libertarian right. You got your social scale. I think I'm more authoritarian. You have economic scale. I think I'm more right. At least very close to centrism. Okay, you got Hitler up here, Thatcher. I'd want to be in this category. You got Stalin on the off left, Gandhi on the left, libertarian. That's where my mom is. My mom's right there near Gandhi. And you have Friedman on the right, libertarian. All right, let's see where I stand. Okay. So yeah, off right, like I expected. I expected to be a little bit more here. I think I took this test a long time ago. Like back when it first came out almost. And I was right like on the line right there. But yeah, it's very interesting. So yeah, it's because I spent whatever, what was this, 20 minutes taking a test for it just to tell me exactly where I knew I was going to land. Very interesting. Let's see where I land. Okay, so they put Donald Trump right up there with Hitler. Of course they're going to do that. So this is right here. You can tell this was made by a stupid liberal. Interesting though, very interesting. Thank you guys for watching the first ever episode of the OK Opinion. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and stay tuned because there will be more of these shows coming. There'll be more of this, lots more. So yeah, we'll be covering a wide range of topics for the other videos. So yeah, thank you for watching.